Hey there guys, and welcome to another reaction video. This is the second time I'm trying to record this, so the first little bit for this video has been spoiled for me, so yeah. Blame my fucking internet provider for that one. Anyway, let's press play and see what's gonna happen, shall we?
Hey everybody, Brian Von Via here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today, we're going to be talking about the worst D&D experiences that you've had. Part 4.
Bruh. Also,
My
just
first
pressed a
real
random
campaign,
video
actually,
here.
The DM and one of our other players met at a social group.
That kind of player,
DM
huh?
attended another social group, and the person running the group suggested bringing in someone from the other group.
Specifically him.
Who I will refer to as the wizard player, since that is the class they used, had terrible impulse control and would blurt out his opinions without any concern for what other people thought. He also had a persecution complex, claiming it was because his family would often blame him for everything. I've never met his family, so I can't verify this, but either way, he was not a well person. Anytime the DM threw any kind of challenging encounter our way, the wizard player would complain and act like the DM was out to get him. Oh my god. Yes.
You gotta hate those kind of people.
Other times he'd complain that a challenge in the campaign was making the game luck-based. Yes,
in a game with
dice.
Complained
that things were making D&D luck-based. A game played with dice. I even pointed that out to him, but this guy was sadly rather conceited.
How dumb is that mother?
Anything that doesn't fit with his
fucker.
worldview, it would go in one ear.
Oh,
and
that guy.
The other.
With those kinds of people,
that he was complaining about luck.
With those kinds of people, it doesn't even enter the first ear. It just instantly bounces off. That's what those kinds of people. That's a more accurate description there.
In a game played with dice, didn't even seem to register. His complaining continued into the late game. I was still new to the game and didn't study it as much as he did. Well, despite that, I noticed that early game in D&D is typically going to be the hardest part. As we got into the mid and late
Alright,
game,
good advice for me then.
Combat was getting much easier. Everyone was taking less damage and fights ended faster. Yet, the wizard player still kept getting worried in the face of any challenge and complaining. I don't know if he was expecting the DM to just send cannon fodder our way the whole time, rather than actually try to scale the difficulty to our levels or what. It was especially bad when the DM designed this dungeon for us to go through. It had a number of puzzles, something I'm not good with, but I found the difficulty to be, well, manageable. The wizard player kept no-showing for sessions and lying about why he wasn't coming. Well, our DM worked hard to put this dungeon together, and this player decided to simply no-show until we were done. Of course, we noticed all our sessions were a lot more fun when this player didn't attend.
No shit.
Everyone, including the DM, couldn't stand his complaining, but we tried to be polite and keep our feelings to ourselves. The DM didn't throw this player out, but decided that the next time he does a campaign, that player is not going to be invited. If nothing else, our DM showed that he can handle having a difficult player in the sessions.
True.
When we met after the campaign, I told him that while this was his first time as a DM, he did a good job despite the issues with that one player complaining so much. I was the DM, and it was a pretty generic starting scenario. The players were all youths in a remote society and had to perform a coming-of-age trial to become full adults. Of course, something tragic was going to happen, and plot would ensue. Well, we never got that far. I was going to give them some smaller quests first to help gear them up and get them a level. The quest giver was a stern but kind mentor they knew throughout their time.
They murdered him, didn't they?
Constable. And his job was to get them prepared for a possibly dangerous ordeal. The problem was that the party started making jokes about he was a child molester and wouldn't fucking let it go. They developed crude backstories about the outrageous and improbable abuse they had suffered and would actively avoid him to the point of hiding or running if he came looking for them. Even after I went out of character and explained how the campaign was set up, they decided their stupid joke was more important. Then later had the gall to complain about how we were 3 sessions in and nothing was happening. I told them to get the fuck out of my house, and some of them I never gamed with again. Honestly, I wouldn't talk to a single one of these people again if they're going to make jokes like that. They can
Yeah.
stay away from my life, and their little toxicity puddle can stay there forever, far away from me. A few years ago, I joined a
To be fair, though, in that scenario, I would have said, alright, you want something to happen? You know? And then, through sheer circumstance, since they were fucking around so much, I would have said, oh yeah, a dragon came your way. Enjoy. And party wipe. You know, with those kinds of people, and they then had the gall to start complaining, yeah, I would have party wiped them.
Pathfinder campaign that was being hosted at a local comic book store. High five, props for the Pathfinder campaign. I always have plenty of ideas for characters and can come up with something to fit any need, so I told everyone they could make their characters first, and I would make, well, whatever was left. Well, nobody made an arcane caster. Sweet. I get to play my kobold sorcerer, who would later take levels in Dragon Disciple, so he had the draconic bloodline. I could have come up with anything that was needed, but kobolds are my favorite, so I was very pleased with this turn of events. Well, game day comes around, and it turns out that the guy who said he was going to play a cleric had changed his mind, and instead was playing a sorcerer. A draconic bloodline sorcerer, which he already knew I was playing. Oh, great. Honestly, if he had just told me this ahead of time, I would have scrapped Keycat and rolled up a cleric. But no prior warning at all from him or the DM. Well, this was still doable. We were a first-level party with 2 sorcerers or no healer, but a good DM would have accounted for that and given us extra healing stuff. This was not a good DM. We
No
found
shit.
one single healing potion. Keycat found it, so it was in Keycat's possession. Eventually, inevitably, somebody almost dies. Like he was going to die if nobody healed him, which, remember, none of us can. Keycat, being a team player, rushes over and pours the healing potion down the guy's throat, saving his life. You'd think that kind of behavior would get, rewarded. But, apparently not. Later in the same session, Keycat gets killed. We have no healing options and definitely no resurrection options, so he's dead for good. The DM looks at me and just says, "Well, you should have saved the healing potion." Never mind that I used it to save the life of somebody else's player character.
Yeah.
On top of that, I get told that I can't make a new character. I'm out of the campaign entirely. There was some bullshit excuse about, other people want to join this campaign, and we have to make room for them. Oh, I'll admit, I got seriously pissed off and said some pretty nasty things.
No
I promised
shit.
that I'd never return to that comic store. The DM was part of the family that owned it, and I have kept that promise. I also tell everyone I meet not to go there because I very rarely hold a grudge, but when I do, it's a serious one. Now, Keycat's story does have a happy ending.
Damn.
I remade him in a 3rd edition campaign, and he's gone on to do amazing things, to the extent of which can't be possibly summarized here. I like to think that the original Keycat, now known as Keycat the First, got reincarnated and given a second chance. And you know
Aww.
what? It's not about holding a grudge. You did what you thought was best by steering people away from a very scummy DM and a very scummy store that would allow something this scummy to exist. Good on you, and I can't wait to hear about Keycat soon. I had a game end with a TP
Alright,
after
that
about
was an ad.
3 hours of actual gameplay.
Bruh.
Nobody had even gotten to level up yet. We
Bruh.
were playing 3.5. And
How
had a
unlucky
decent
were
sized
they?
Party that was well-rounded with one each of wizard, rogue, cleric, fighter, and ranger. This was the norm for our group to not have duplicate classes. Plus, we had all kind of settled into certain roles, and this was the best group that would work for us. It started out classic enough. We all meet at an inn, and a fight breaks out. We then all get arrested and brought before the magistrate, who agrees to let us go if we take care of a small gang of thieves operating out of the sewers of his city. Well, we agree and go down into the sewers, and we proceeded to disarm several traps, solve a puzzle, then kill 2 thugs and subdue a few others to take back to the magistrate. We come upon their treasure hoard, and it's a pretty good haul with a magic
Alright.
item for each of us. Now,
Ooh,
we thought that
generous.
this was just the DM trying to give us a boost early in the game.
Oh.
But,
It was a
it
trap.
was a damn trap set up by the DM. We started heading back up to the surface, and as soon as we reached the staircase that led up, the big bad boss guy was coming down. It was a damn level 15 Drow rogue fighter, and it massacred my party and myself in 3 rounds. With me being the wizard, I was targeted first and was immediately killed by its crossbow. With the DM going into detail about how the bolt went through my throat, ripping my jugular and paralyzing me at the same time. So while I am lying there dying, I get to watch the entire party get
That
murdered.
has to be a dick of a
Now,
DM.
We had all died, as other characters in previous games, and even experienced a TPK with this DM before. But never something as lopsided and pointless as this. I confronted him later about it, and he said we were not supposed to face the Drow until much later in the game, but he didn't like the vibe of the game and how we were playing it. I never went back there again. I found another group, and I badmouthed that DM to the entire D&D community in the city that I was in at the time. That was, without a doubt, the worst session of D&D I have ever played. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. That sounds gross. That would be the time that the DM called me a cheater because I had an item that foiled his attempted TPK. Oh, one that he okayed me having before the game even began, but was too distracted playing Tekken to actually think about. That was the first and so far only time in 30 years that I got up and walked away from a game. Especially since it was just a rock with light cast on it. That sounds kind of cool, too. I'd have it called a pet rock. It'd be my little pet rock with googly eyes. Magical googly eyes at that. I was once in an evil campaign. A party of 8 with me playing as a support druid sorcerer homebrew. I wasn't really evil. Nature and the elements tend to be neutral, but someone had to have some sense and keep the party alive. We were fighting a green dragon in its lair when the warlock convinced his relatively inexperienced wizard GF to erect a wall of fire around themselves for protection.
That's kind of
I was
dumb.
stuck for several rounds behind a 10-foot wall with no way to reach any of my now injured, poisoned, paralyzed companions fighting for their lives on the outside. I was basically forced to make the decision to wild shape to go through the wall myself, take the damage which killed my wild shape, but not my concentration, then listen to the warlock chastise me for not being evil enough. I texted the DM if PvP was allowed. DM texted back that it was. I switched alliances by dropping a streak of lightning from my still concentrating 5th level call lightning onto the wizard to break her concentration. With the help of the rest of the party, I then unleashed my staff of power to erect a wall of force and a dome shape immediately after a fighter used a scroll of cloud kill over them. She didn't realize that counterspell would be needed until it was too late. That was the end of me in that campaign, as my gut was just soured after that. Maybe being evil just isn't my thing. I really hate turning on the party, even when it fits the narrative.
Meh.
Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid.
It's that I'm playing more of a gonna be playing more of a neutral character, but yeah, let's just say, just out of sheer annoyance, there are a few people there's one person in my group actually that I would totally make damn sure she's the first to die, or at least the one to die before me, or yeah, before I would get killed. You know? I mean, it's only fair. She does annoy me at work every now and then. Or tease me at least. And you know, the whole saying, karma's a bitch. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know, or this reaction video. I know it's kind of different from, well, what I normally react to. But I'm recording this kind of late. For me, anyway. For some of you watching, it's probably like, what? By the time you're watching this, maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Seeing as most of my viewers come from, or most of my views come from the US. Anyway, again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I'll be making. So yeah, bye.